welcome back to another episode of the Public Announcement Podcast. And today I would like to talk about a very interesting movement that I mentioned in a very early episode of mine. It was connected with dating, and we are going to take a closer look at the MGTOW community today, and the many problems that I think personally they are facing with. The movement itself was built on good grounds and with good intentions, but as many modern movements today, it ends up being a shit show when more people join in. It's the same as with the dating game or the self-help game. I mean, if you take a look back at the books from the 80s, I don't mean dating ones, I mean the becoming successful books, they were still pretty decent. They weren't exactly what they promised to be, like giving you tips to become a billionaire, but they did essentially deliver at least something or some tips. Today you look at the self-help books and it's an absolute shit show. You know, they repeat themselves and this, but I already talked about the self-help books. Let's talk about what the MGTOW community was supposed to represent and where it is now. So in the early beginnings, the MGTOW is an abbreviation for men going their own way. And well, the movement is pretty self-explanatory in these terms because it's supposed to be about men going their own way without having a relationship. So men pretty much exiting the dating game as it is and just becoming independent and focusing on themselves. So that sounds like a good idea. I mean, women have been doing the same thing too. Fuck relationship and let's get a STEM degree or something like that, or become a CEO, and all power to ya. I mean, if you feel like that's your way of life, to hustle and hustle and hustle and essentially reach success, or probably not, but well, that's up to you to decide if that is your way of living you want to go by. But a very interesting thing happened. More dating coaches starting sort of sympathizing with the movement and started saying how good it is, even though these people directly exited the dating game. So you would think that the dating coaches are sort of not really related to the entire thing, because they only provide like how to get girls, and the MGTOW community is all about like, let's not get girls but money instead. So you would think that you're dealing with more educated people in a sort of way, or people who know their way around, maybe some stockbrokers who just don't have time to find relationships and don't have the energy to put themselves through emotional strains that relationships often are. But, you know, people that watch these dating coaches, they started all going like, I'm an MGTOW supporter too, and I go my own way, even though when they come to a bar, they start winking at every single fucking woman and expecting that the woman will buy them a drink because they're so alpha male. This is not what the movement was supposed to become, but again, now it's around 5 people that actually believe in the MGTOW thing and 100,000 people who don't and are just pretending to be. And that is the state of it is today. Most of the people are just in denial, alright? It's the people who are not incels by the definition, because incels, that's a whole different community, but they're not really those alpha chad males that the videos sell them, or they at least think they are, but they're not in reality. You know, so they don't get any girls, and then their little brains go on to a really thinking phase, and they're like, you know what, I was an MGTOW supporter the entire time. I just tried it around with these women, you know, see if I can get a one night stand. You know, that's what us chads do. But still, most of these people sit in their rooms and do nothing, no productive work or anything to move their life around. I am of the opinion that life shouldn't be taken too seriously when it comes to all this stuff. I don't think you should hustle your days away. I think that's quite stupid, but to another video. I mean, having an occasional pause or a day off, there's nothing bad about that one. What you have to understand is that these people don't do anything at all. It's like, I set my goals, right? I have a journal where I write down my goals, and for every day I have a few mini tasks that I have to complete. I know those tasks will take me, 1 or 2 hours, and if I do them, I just have free time. I read books or I play video games. I'm just as unproductive as those people are, but I am at least doing something. These people are just sitting around doing nothing and complaining about women. If you go to the MGTOW community HQ at the Reddit, right? You see most of the time it's not pictures of like men enjoying their lives. It's most of the time these pictures where they somehow make fun of women. This is another problem. These men that are in the MGTOW community, they focus on making fun of the women, like, oh, they're such whores, oh, they're such this. But when one of the women or some of the women mention, like, you're not even that productive, or you're not even that successful as you pretend to be, they get all angry and wrapped up, like, how could this female even dare to say something like this? I mean, it's really backwards thinking if you look into it a bit deeper. But the main problem isn't this. The core problem of everything, and I think most of the dating problems, is the expectations. I mean, if you look back at what we have been fed, it's kind of... You could have seen it coming. Of course, nobody did, but you could have seen it coming. We've got all these movies about romance and about how it should look like, right? The guy usually he does all this crazy bullshit for some female, and the female at the end of the day, she falls in love with him, and they live happily ever after. Now, this destroys both the female's fantasy and the male's fantasy, because in reality, it doesn't really work like this. Many men are not even able to pay for dates. I don't think they will go their way to, like, invite the woman on a rowboat with 20 balloons and a live band singing them and playing some tunes for a romantic date in hopes that the woman will like him. And women, they expect this, that males will act like this, and therefore when they see how men actually act, they are very disappointed. But it's not the problem of the males and the females at the same time. But of course, let's not blame the movies only, because it's also the social media, right? As I talked about in the Instagram episode, many of the models, in big quotation marks, they take days, if not weeks, to find the perfect angle, perfect way to take pictures. And then the people, the hungry ass males, they see them and they're like, oh, I wish I had a girl like this, even though she doesn't fucking look like that 90% of her day. And when she sleeps, you think she's like the Shrek version of Fiona. Sorry if I insulted somebody, but that's just my opinion. The thing is, people don't really get what relationships are supposed to be about. Relationships, I am a skeptic of relationships, and I don't think there should be about true love. There is no such a thing as true love. That's a concept made by Hollywood movies. Now, I lived in a quite large family, and I can tell you that every single relationship that there was, the people sort of, or the two, man and female, they sort of accepted themselves after some time. You know, the first 3 months are the best because it's the honeymoon part of the equation. You get to know each other, you go to dates, you feel like the love is going to be eternal, but most relationships fall after those 3 months. You know, the first problem comes, and suddenly they don't know what the fuck they are doing, and they don't know what the fuck they should be doing. And the relationship falls apart. The long-term relationships, you have to understand, people find something else than just that romantic craze that you have for 3 months. They find, in a way, and this will sound cliche as fuck, they find a common purpose, right? But not purpose like, oh, I have to get a business going, but some hobby or something that interests them. For example, I'll use my personal example. My grandma and grandpa, they married each other. Why? Because they both were moving from a smaller city to a bigger city, and they both had high ambitions for their jobs. I mean, that's pretty strong motivation to stay together, and guess what? They've got a happy relationship. You know, the divorce rates that are today are an all-time high. It's people just marrying each other for the sake of marrying, and then realizing that, oh wait, I don't really have anything common with this person after like 5 years. Or getting a midlife crisis in the middle of the relationship and being like, oh, I now change my definition and my purpose, and the initial purpose that there was in the relationship is lost, and therefore the relationship falls apart as it is. The important thing is, if you want to get a girl or get a girlfriend, I'm talking to my male audience today, if you want to do that, you really have to think about what you have in common with that person. If it's just that, oh, I like her looks, it's not gonna last too much. Maybe 1 or 2 one-night stands, maybe a week, but you see things will start to fall apart. And this is what these people don't understand. They think that by being MGTOW and by having this I don't give a flying fuck attitude, they will become more attractive, and women will be like in those Axe spray commercials that will just jump at their feet right when they see them. Most of the women don't care about this because they actually sort of know that this is not the thing you want, and they know these males are very fragile when it comes to actually women's attention. They actually do give a fuck about women's attention, and I bet your ass if one of the women would come up to them and say something mildly seductive, these people would jizz in their pants. And that's the main problem. These people are actually the walking magnets for whores and thoughts, right? Because a normal woman will see them and be like, oh, he's too arrogant. But a thought, she sees right through him. She sees there is an opportunity to use him for money and free sex and free attention. And suddenly, voila, you've got another woman on your list that you can complain about at the forums. And I don't get how these people still live with it, right? Because they've got this model like MGTOW, and then they are talking about how women are bad. Like, aren't you supposed to be focusing on making money? Aren't you supposed to be focused on getting your life together? I get that some people like flex with photos like, today I took my dog on a walk. I kind of get that. They want to encourage other males like, I do this. What do you do? Share your picture. But what is up with all those pictures of females like, is this what females are like today? Oh my god, look at the true reality. I'm starting to feel like the MGTOW is becoming more of an incel forum than an MGTOW forum. I still believe they are real MGTOWs out there and people who actually worship the original idea. Another thing that I do believe is that women are good motivators to get your life together, and that these MGTOW people just found a different way. They are not motivated by women, they are motivated by, let's say, money or some view of success or some dream that they have. And I perfectly understand those motivations. I just don't understand how they are not able to realize that there are hypocrites among their own ranks. And lots of them. There are people who just pat themselves on the back, that actually want females' attention and are doing the entire red pill alpha chat MGTOW man just to get more women and seem like they really don't give a shit. But let me tell you what, women are not stupid. They can see through that shit. If I can see through that shit, and I don't consider myself a psychologist or anything, I mean, your average woman can do the same. And the women that are really like thoughts and are really like evil and manipulative, you literally are a magnet for them. They know how to lure you in. They know how to lure everybody in. And I'm sorry, there are people like that in the world, but you just have to deal with it. So the conclusion to all this is that you have to lower your expectations of what a relationship should look like. Not everything is a whole Hollywood balloony thing, and it's not gonna end in a romantic dance-off, right? And you also have to stop denying what you actually like and are. If you like female attention and you find that that's a motivator of why you want to get your life together, I mean, sure. There is nothing to be ashamed of. You don't have to scream it out loud, of course, but you have to at least recognize it and be like, okay, I'm gonna do what it takes to find the best partner for myself. And when I do that, I'll be more satisfied than I am today, right? Because that's what we all crave. We all crave happiness and satisfaction. But these males have such a fragile base on what they actually base their happiness on. It's a very thin ice, because somebody then exposes their views and they are tasked with having to defend themselves, and they find themselves in a tricky situations when they don't know what to say because they know that the other person is saying the truth, but they don't want to recognize the truth. And then these people end up in their 30s in their parents' houses still thinking like they missed on the big picture of the life, while their friends, not even the alpha chats friends, like the normal dude who works his ass off, or who these people laugh off, he ends up having a nice relationship and 2 kids, something these people dream about. I understand that the situation in the dating market is pretty shit at this point. I understand that women are not what they used to be. It's not all conservative and women are submissive type of shit. But I mean, you've got to work with the cards you dealt. There is no point going against the market, and there is no point in somehow trying to make your own rebellion and take your own stance, because that doesn't really end up doing much at the end of the day. The large society doesn't give a flying fuck about an individual. So if you decide to go MGTOW, you have to do it for your own personal gain, not for the gain of the society or to get more karma points or whatever. You have to understand what the movement is about and then really ask yourself if you want to have the burdens and the positives of the movement, because you can't have only the positives and somehow negate the burdens. And if you are an MGTOW, then what I say is that all luck to you, you know. I actually kind of respect you in a way, because I know that it can get hard and lonely, and that sometimes you just need a little bit of motivation. So if you're still listening to this and you find yourself that you truly believe in what you preach, then all the best of luck to you, and may you be a successful businessman or fulfill your dreams. I mean, that's what all of us want at the end of the day. And with this, I would like to end my episode. I would like to thank everybody for listening, and you'll hear me in English in 2 weeks' time.